Ready then, sir. Hey, good afternoon. Happy Wednesday. My thought for you is on just the question of when you are going about your day, when you are going about your life, are you connecting to your goodness? Or are you connecting to something else, right? Because this is, I find that it's very easy to get caught up in the mind space that says this is what you didn't do, or this is what you did wrong, or here's the mistakes, or here's the things that aren't complete, or here's all the issues that you still have, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And if that's what's driving us, and that's what's driving the way that we interact with each other, then we end up with many more of these than are necessary, many more conflicts than are necessary or that are useful. They don't bring us to a place that is actually helping us to expand at all. It just keeps us locked in that feeling that things are incomplete or wrong. So the bigger question, right, is even within that context of all the things that didn't get done and mistakes that were made and things that are happening, might happen, will happen, are you connecting to your goodness, right? Because in yoga, we're kind of given this dichotomy that says that there's the demon, you know, in all the yogic stories, there's always a demon, there's always a bad guy. But the demon is very, very often someone who started out as a great yogi, right? It's someone who started out with great intention. It's someone who started out with great ideas. It's someone who is incredibly devoted and dedicated and powerful. They're very powerful people. But somewhere along the line, they stop connecting to their goodness and they start connecting to something else. And it steers their whole experience, their whole life into a different direction. And then we're also given the story of some of the greatest teachers are ones that started out as bad guys. They started out as bandits and thieves and murderers and, you know, the worst of the worst. And they also have those moments where they're offered the chance to connect to their goodness. And it turns their lives in a direction where now they are the great teachers that are guiding those who are behind them. So we're given this as a reminder that it's not the good or the bad that is happening in this moment that is the meaning of your whole life, right? It doesn't take over your whole life. But if you are connecting to your goodness, it will lead your life in that direction. If you are connecting to something else, it will lead your life in that direction, right? The demon and the yogi, or the demon and the saint, is they exist, both of them, in you at the same time, all the time. So are you connecting to that innate goodness that you are, or are you connecting to something else, right? So that's what we're practicing, is what are you connecting to? And so can you make it a regular thing that every day you are looking for the best of you that is happening, and not so much the tunnel vision on what's gone wrong or is still missing or is still a problem or is still an issue, right? So how often do you connect with your goodness? And does that trigger something in you when I say your innate goodness and you're like, I don't have that? You know, I'm not too bad, but my innate goodness, I don't know. You know, can you get to that you have innate goodness and connect to it? So eyes closed if you're not there already, right? And I remind myself often that, you know, these practices, when we start saying that it's for the benefit of others, is we neglect how much it is immediately a benefit to you. So connecting to your innate goodness isn't to prove anything to anyone. It's to get to the reality that whatever the badness is that you think is there, the wrongness that you think is there, is not the full truth. So how can you build your life on anything but the full truth? So with the eyes closed, going inward, and even just with the course of your day already, the things that have been said and done, or not said or not done. Can you connect with how good you've been today? And no excuses to say, I can't find anything. You go inside and you find, this is my innate goodness that doesn't disappear because I said something unskillful or I did something that didn't work out right. Or I'm mad at so-and-so, blah, blah, blah. The full truth of you. One more deep breath in, feel it all the way from your belly, up through your ribs, up into your chest, up through your throat, up through the face, up through the crown of the head, up into infinity. And then exhale, feel yourself just dropping down completely into your seat. Good, yawning is fantastic. And then hands to heart center, please, palm to palm. We'll open with the sound of Om, deep breath. And let the eyes float open. Nice, you guys. You can release your hands, please. And then come forward onto hands and knees. Come back into child's pose. The big toes can come together to touch. Drop your hips back to your heels. You can extend the arms forward, torso forward. And then in that child's pose, as you find it, I want you to squeeze your knees towards your outer ribs. So you squeeze your legs towards each other and then scoop your low belly and really drop your seat down. So you're accentuating or exaggerating that curve of your lower spine. So as you squeeze the knees in, you're activating the outer hips, and then you pull the low belly in, lift the front edge of your pelvis, round into that lowest part of your back. So not the back of the ribs, but the lowest part of your back, round. Good. And then keep that roundness and then just relax the upper body towards the floor. Good. Maybe do that whole thing again, squeezing the knees, scooping your belly round, exaggerated into your lower back. Drop your hips. And then relax the upper spine while you keep the lower spine really engaged. Good. And then do a little, so release some of that squeezing, do a little walk over to the right, over the right thigh. Walking to the upper right-hand corner of your mat. Good. And then come back towards center, please, and walk over to the left side, left thigh. Good. And then walk yourself back towards center. Keep that little navel engagement. The more you keep the navel engaged just a little bit to support the lower back, the better it's going to feel in those twisted positions. Good. Walk yourself back up, please. Nice. So bring the knees a little closer together. So more sitting on your heels, or if you're able to, you can separate your feet, sit between your heels. So Virasana, if you're sitting between your heels. It's called Vajrasana if you're sitting on your heels. Either one is fine, but knees should be pointed pretty much straight ahead. And then walk your fingertips back behind you. Yep, and just keep walking the hands back. Hands can be nice and wide, so I'm not so worried about you stretching the shoulders by squeezing in here, but walk your hands back, draw your navel in, and press your shins down to the floor. Good. And then walk your hands back a little further. Nice. Again, navel in. For some of you, if you want to come down to your forearms here and that's comfortable, you can, but keep pressing the shins down, keep the navel engaged. Good. Little lift to the chest. Beautiful. One more breath. And then walk yourself back up. Nice job. And then come forward, please, onto hands and knees. And do a little cat and cow. Inhaling, lifting long through the spine. Exhaling, curling in. Beautiful. Nice. And say we're told that the activity of your mind, right? The mind likes to judge things. And so I know you see it a lot too. There's a lot of judgment happening. But it's the craziest thing, right? That we go looking for what's wrong with someone first. We go looking for what's wrong. It's like we give ourselves excuses to be dissatisfied with who's in front of us, with what's in front of us. And then we do that to ourselves, right? You're having a really good day, and then suddenly your mind says, yeah, but remember yesterday? Remember 20 years ago? You're not so great, right? This is one of those challenges, is that the ego is not always just inflated, like it likes itself, is it's also the voice that tells you everything that's wrong. So can you connect to your goodness so that there is a balance? Good. Come back to center, please. Stretch your right leg back behind you, toes tucked on the floor. Good. Press that foot down, but drag forward with the hip. So drag the hip forward, forward, forward. And then press into your hands, round into your ribs a little bit more. Scoop in. So you're pressing into your hands, you're pressing into that leg. Take your left knee up off the floor. Yep. So it's like you're in a one-legged plank. So right foot stays on the floor, left knee pulls up towards your chest. Hover it above the floor. You got to use your hands. That's it. Nice. Yeah. Scoop, 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 scoop. Awesome. And then bring it back down to the floor, please. Good. Take your right leg up in line with your hip now. So the leg that's extended, lift it up. Beautiful. Deep breath in. Walk your left hand forward, lift it up, take your balance. Yeah. Navel still in. As you exhale, bring your elbow and knee together underneath you. Round your back. Squeeze. Good. And then extend all the way out. Inhale. Nice. Exhale, squeeze it in again. Good. Inhale, extend. And last time, exhale, squeeze in. Beautiful. And then take it all the way out, reach. Good. And then release the hand, release the knee. Do some hip circles, please. Move your pelvis. Good. So everything in yoga revolves around that voice in your head. Right? And we often say it's the voice of the ego. The ego is the one that organizes who you think you are, your individual identity. The ego can be either oriented with your goodness or it can be oriented somewhere else. Come back to neutral, please. Good. Take your left leg back behind you, toes tucked on the floor. And then you're pressing through the ball of that foot and dragging the hip forward. So you're really trying to pull that top of the pelvis towards your ribs, pull your ribs up towards your pelvis. Good. And then really press into your hands, lift your right knee up off the floor, squeeze it in towards your chest. So you're in like a one-legged hovering plank. Good. Keep the shoulders moving forward. So don't lift your butt too high, but pull the thigh forward, pull your knee forward. Yeah, nice, Sue. Good. And then step that knee back down to the floor underneath your hip. Lift the left leg up parallel to the floor. Yep. Good. And then walk the right arm forward. Take your balance. Deep breath in. As you exhale, bring the elbow and the knee together underneath you. Round. Good. Pull the ribs in. Pull into that low space of your back. Inhale, extend out. Good. Exhale, squeeze in. Exaggerate your lower belly, your lower spine rounding. Good. Inhale it out. And last time, exhale, squeeze it in. Again, rounding whole spine. And then inhale, extend. Nice. And then release back down to hands and knees. Good job. Hip circles the other way. Good. The ego, when it is aligned with our goodness, when it becomes part of our spiritual practice or becomes a willing participant, stops being like you're fighting with that voice in your head, and it stops being a struggle, as much of a struggle, right? To be in the world and not be dissatisfied. Come back to stillness, please. Spread your fingers wide, tuck your toes, lift your hips, come into downward facing dog. Good. Walk your feet forward to your hands. Nice. Feet underneath your hips, so there should be a little space between them. Make sure your hands are touching something, either the floor or blocks. So if reaching the floor is a little tricky, maybe put blocks underneath your hands. And then keeping your fingers on the floor or blocks, bend your knees deep like you're coming into chair pose. So find your weight in your heels. Good. Drop your hips and then scoop your belly with your knees bent. Just scoop your belly. Keep your head relaxed. Yep. Just round, round, round into that lowest part of your spine. Press your inner thighs wide, hug your big toe mounds down to the floor so the shins are hugging, and then press your butt up towards the sky. Start to straighten the legs, keep your low belly scooped. Good. And then bend the knees again, dropping back towards chair, fingers still on the floor, keep the head relaxed, drop your hips low. And then same thing. You're pressing your inner thighs wide, so your outer hips should feel like they're engaged. And then your shins are hugging in, big toe mounds, roots. Scoop your belly, push your butt to the sky, keep the head drop, start to straighten the legs. Good. One more time. Drop the hips down into chair, bend your knees deep, scoop your belly. So again, you're decompressing that lower part of your pelvis, lower part of your spine. And then inner thighs push wide and shins hug in. And then start to press your butt up towards the sky, still pushing the inner thighs wide, still hugging the shins. Beautiful. Take your right leg up and back to standing split. Yep, left leg holds you, right leg comes up, toes pointed down towards the floor. Good. Nice, you guys. Deep breath. Bend that right knee for a moment. Good. Squeeze it in, scoop your belly again, and then press your heel straight up towards the sky. Good. Keep the knee bent. Just press the heel up so you're stretching through that thigh. Awesome. And then straighten the legs, drop your chest a little deeper. Beautiful. And then step that right foot back alongside the left. Nice job. Good. Take your hands to your hips, come all the way up to stand. Good. Inhale the arms up to the sky. I'm just giving you a chance to be upright so that your blood can settle. Again, right hand holds left wrist. Good. And pull to your right, please. Nice. And then while you are there, right, you're going to curl into your ribs, send your hands reaching towards that upper right-hand corner of your mat. So it's like you're diving on a diagonal, as we say. So you're pulling your ribs in, you're turtling your back, and you're bringing those hands at a diagonal towards the upper right-hand corner of your mat. Good. Scoop your ribs. And then turn your left armpit open a little more. Yeah, and then draw your throat back and draw the tops of your thighs back. Nice, Laura. And then come all the way back up to center, a little bit of a different twist on your side body. Switch the hands, please. Reach to the right or to your left. Yes, to your left. Good. Feel both feet, please. Inner thighs still push wide and big toe mounds root down. If you're doing that consistently, right, it's going to stabilize the low body. It's going to stabilize your pelvis. It's going to give you the ability to extend your lower spine. Dive towards that upper left-hand corner of your mat, please. Good. Rounding the back. Turn that right armpit open more. Keep the tops of your thighs drawing back. So Carolina, tops of thighs back. There you go. And then open a little bit wider, a little bit more. Turn, 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 turn. And then all the way back up to center. Nice job. Release the hands, bow forward. Fingertips find the floor or blocks. Good. Bend your knees just a little bit or to that full chair as deep as you want to go. Scoop your low belly, drop your head, round your back. Good. And then push your butt up towards the sky, press down through your heels, take the legs any amount towards straight. Keep the upper body here relaxed. And then take the left leg up and back to standing split. Good. And you're watching, right? How easy it is for your mind to waver away from that belief that whatever it is that you're doing is good. That there's a goodness to whatever you're doing, right? Even if you can't give it that full category. That full judgment is you can be in that middle place that says it might not be good or bad, but there's goodness in what I'm doing. Round your back. Good. Bend that left knee, kick your heel in, and then push up through the heel of that foot, the ball of that foot. So you're stretching the thigh, but keep the upper body pretty relaxed here. Good. Good, Laura, move your heel a little bit towards the outer edge of your hip. That's it. Good. Press up. Nice, Joe. And then extend that leg to straight. Please drop your chest a little deeper. Joe, Joanne, however you go. Awesome. And then release that left foot down to the floor. Nice job, you guys. Bend your knees, drop your seat into chair. Inhale the arms up, this time full chair pose. Good. And then weight into that right foot. Without straightening the legs, lift your left knee up in towards your chest, cross your left thigh on top of your right, come into eagle. Good, so that you're already there. You've just got to scoop your belly. Take that right arm on top of the left in front of your chest. Wrap the arms. Good. And then drop a little lower. Squeeze. Yeah, navel in. Drop your butt, lift your heart, Kristen. Yeah, and then slowly release. Come all the way out. Stretch the arms out, the leg out. Good, relax your jaw. Ah, good, Lisa. Lisa B. And then second side, please. Bend your knees, drop back into chair. Good. And again, taking your weight into your left foot. So maintain that low chair pose, but take the weight into your left foot. And then without straightening the legs, lift that right knee up and cross it over your left thigh, and then squeeze the shins together. Nice. Left arm comes over right in front of your chest. Good. And then try to stay upright here. So you're dropping your seat, but you're lifting your shoulders up. And there's a deep bend to the knees. So you're getting into your thighs, into your thigh creases. You got it. So use the wall. Just use it. Good. And then slowly release. Come all the way out. Beautiful, you guys. Nice job. Inhale the arms up to the sky. Good. Exhale, bow forward. Plant your hands, step back to plank pose. Yep. Vasisthasana, turn onto the baby toe side of your right foot. That's it. Left leg stacks, right arm to the sky. Yeah. And then I want you to step your top foot forward. So if you're needing to step it somewhere, step it forward, bend the knee. Yeah, and then you're pressing into that foot so that you lift your hips higher. Yep, you're pressing into your left foot so you can lift your hips higher. And then rotate that left hip back, pull it back in space, open your chest to the sky. Good. Now keep everything scooped. Place that left leg back on top of the right. What? There it is. Awesome. Bring it back to down dog. Really good, you guys. That was nice. Nobody went down. Very good. Good. Bend your knees. In down dog, just bend your knees, pull your seat back. And then straighten the legs. Beautiful. Come back to plank. I know, Vasisthasana, second side, navel in, thighs up. Roll onto the left baby toe, please. So right leg is stacking. Right arm comes to the sky. So find the side plank first. Find the opening, find the length first. Good. And then that top foot steps forward. So you've got a solid anchor. Bend the knee. So your ankle should be right underneath your knee. So Sarah, bring your heel closer in. So it's more underneath that knee. You got it. So step into it. Push your hips high to the sky. So you get that lift through your side ribs. Pull your right hip back in space. Open the chest more because this is Vasisthasana. You want to have this rotation. And now that you found it here, ribs in, take that right leg back on top of the left. Don't let the left leg collapse though. Stay just as lifted. This is the benefit of tapping into your goodness because every time you elevate your mind, it can stay at a higher, more elevated level. It doesn't keep dropping. Come back down to down dog. You're like, now I'm dropping. Good. Drop the knees to the floor, please, child's pose. Yeah. Right, so we're watching that routine of the mind because whatever our baseline is, every time we go into our negative thinking is it drops the mind lower and lower and lower and lower and lower. And we get used to that. And we start to think that that's normal and that's who we are and that's the state of the world and that's the this and the that. And there's no way out because your mind says, but this is what I've got. So you start tapping into what's good about yourself, what's good about your day, what's good about the world. You start to elevate your mind. And as you elevate your mind, it starts to stay stable at a more elevated place. And it doesn't mean you ignore problems, but you see where there's goodness that you can work with. Walk yourself back up to hands and knees. You give yourself a way out, which is ultimately what a spiritual practice is for. It's a way out of that experience of suffering. Downward facing dog. It used to be that that's what the whole goal of yogis is. They were like, I just want to get out of this embodiment as fast as possible. It's not quite the way we look at it anymore. Right leg up and back behind you, down dog split. Not the way most of us do anyway. If that's your thought, no problem, right? Bend your knee, kick your heel in towards your butt. Stack the right hip on top of the left. Remember to stabilize your lower back. Pull your low belly in. Squeeze your left heel in towards the midline of your mat. Awesome. And then point that knee down towards the floor, scoop the belly, step the right foot between the hands, lunge. Good. And then both hands come inside the front foot, please. Drop your back knee. Yep. Flex the right foot a lot. Drop the knee wide. So come onto the baby toe. Yeah. And then walk the pelvis forward or scoop your belly, bring your pelvis forward, walk your hands forward. Yeah. and extend. So walk yourself really far forward so you're on your fingertips. Good. And some of you want to come straight down onto your forearms. That's okay. But I want you to really focus on keeping that lift of your ribs and the lift of the front of your pelvis. Nice. Good, you guys. Deep breath in. As you exhale, you're releasing the pelvis towards the floor. So you have that active foot. So Carolina, lift your butt a little bit more, but walk your spine forward. Yeah, keep your butt lifting up and back. There you go. Yeah, so don't try to come so far forward with your pelvis. Nice, you guys. Walk yourself back in, please. Take that right foot back to flat. Nice. Lift your back knee. Yep, back knee lifts. Good. And then walk forward, step up, standing split. Left thigh parallels the floor. Good. This is one of those sneaky things where I'm like, well, if you want your low back to feel better, we got to work it a little bit. Bend your left knee, kick your heel in towards your butt, kick that thigh higher, push up through that heel, scoop your belly, and then start to stack the left hip on top of the right. Good. Nice. Keep your right butt cheek pulling back and in. That's it. So it doesn't matter how high your left knee comes or doesn't come, but keep that standing leg stable. And then either stay here or bring that left hand up to your left hip. Open the ribs like you're coming into Ardha Chandrasana. Good. So right hand stays where it is, left hand comes up to your hip and you're turning your belly. That's it. Good. And then maybe you take that left arm all the way to the sky and extend your left leg to straight. Go for it. Nice. Good, Harriet. And then bend the knee again, please. Release that left hand down. Come back to the way you started. Bring that knee facing the floor and then step it back to lunge and come back to downward facing dog. Wow. Good, you guys. Slide forward to plank pose. Lower down slow, coming through knees first if you need. Good. Rise up, cobra. Lift head, neck, and chest. Pressing the feet down into the floor. Good. And then release back to your forehead, please. Stretch your arms, reaching back towards your feet. Palms facing down. Good. Draw in that low belly, low rib cage again. Reach out through the legs, float the legs up off the floor to begin locust. And then lift head, neck, and chest up off of the floor. Good. Long, long, long. So you're pulling your armpits forward and your hips back. So don't think about how high you can get. It's how long can I get? Nice. And then release back down, please. Very good. Press the hands alongside the ribs. Come back downward facing dog. You can absolutely come through hands and knees first. Downward dog. Left leg up and back, down dog split. Bend the knee, bring your heel in towards your butt, stack the left hip on top of the right, watching that that right heel doesn't fly out to the side. So squeeze it in towards the midline, pull your belly in. So you're keeping that real stability through your pelvis, the integrity of your pelvis. Good. Nice, you guys. And then point that knee down towards the floor, please. Good. Step it forward between the hands. Lunge. Good. Both hands inside the front foot. Please drop the back knee. And then you're flexing your left foot a lot, dropping the knee wide. Good. And walking your hands forward so that you are on fingertips, so your spine is extended. Good. So if you can come down to your forearms, I'm okay with that. But as you're coming down, make sure you're not collapsing through the top of that right thigh. You're not collapsing the pelvis down to the floor. So I want you to stay lifted through the front of your pelvis. Good. Nice. And sometimes it's a little bit of work to stay connected to what's good when there seems like it would be so easy and almost fun to just go into that negative thinking, right? It's fun to sit and complain, I know. But that's our challenge, is we've become almost in love with our depression, right? We've become in love with our neuroses. We've become in love with all of those problems that can't possibly be solved because it gives us an excuse, right? It says I'm allowed to really be imperfect as long as these problems are insolvable. It's not my fault. Funny things that my mind says, maybe yours doesn't say it this way. So you start connecting with your goodness, and maybe it's not so important to solve all of the problems or figure out whose fault it is, but it gives you something to work with. It gives you a reason to get up and keep trying. Walk your hands back in, please. Good job. Take that front foot back to flat. Lift the back knee. And then you're walking your hands forward, step up, standing split. Right thigh parallels the floor. And again, you're elevating your mind, and an elevated mind starts to find meaning where a less elevated mind didn't. It starts to find solutions where a differently focused mind didn't. Gives you a way out. And it's not about just deciding there's a good guy and there's a bad guy. Bend the knee, kick your heel in towards your butt. Stack that right hip on top of the left, open. Good, keeping that left butt cheek pulling back and in. Don't let the hips sway out to the side. Good, so I want you to find that real opening through your pelvis first. Then you can plant that left hand, bring the right hand up to your right hip if you would like. If it feels better to keep the hand on the floor, keep it on the floor. And then once you're there, you're turning your ribs open. So you've still got to stay really stable on that standing leg. Again, you got to connect consciously to what you want to be standing on, to what you want to be connected to. Open the heart. And then maybe you take the right arm up to the sky. Maybe you take that right leg all the way out to straight for a full Ardha Chandrasana. Maybe you stay where you are. Because that bent, crooked, imperfect position, if it's on stable, solid foundation, it's just as meaningful, just as useful. Get your mind out of being dissatisfied. Good, and then release that hand back to the floor, bend the knee. Good, back to where you started, point the knee down. And then step back to a lunge, please. Awesome, downward facing dog. I like it when you come out the same way you got in. Like a labyrinth, right? There's only one way in, there's only one way out. Slide forward to plank. Lower down slow, coming through knees first if you need. That's the spiritual labyrinth, not necessarily the torturous, you get lost forever labyrinth. Rise up, cobra. But that's our mind, right? Is that there's only one way out. It has a lot of different, signs, but there's only one way, and that's connect with your goodness. Release, please. Press back, downward facing dog. Good. Nice job. Step the right foot forward between the hands, please. Good. Back heel comes to 45 degrees. You can step the foot a little wider to the left if you need. And then inhale the arms to the sky. Warrior one. Virabhadrasana one. Good. So arms and shoulders facing straight ahead, Joanne. Yeah, you're in warrior two. Yep, there you go. Warrior one. Good, you guys. Yeah, scoop your belly. Nice. And then send that right knee forward a little bit more. Lift your chest. Beautiful. Good, and then spin your back heel up, please. Take that into a high lunge. Yeah. Good, and then hands to heart center, please. Prayer twist, left elbow to the outside of your right knee. Yeah, and again, if you do that aggressively, the lower back's not going to be happy. But if you really are pushing that elbow and the knee against each other and scooping your belly and pressing back through the back of your sacrum, pressing back through the inner edge of that back thigh, is you're going to make space in your spine. So even if you're not hooking the elbow, maybe the forearm is on the thigh, that's fine. Maybe the hand is on the outside of the thigh. Good, come back to center, arms up, full high lunge, navel in. Good, and release the hands back down to the floor. Beautiful. Step back, downward facing dog. Deep breath in, deeper breath out. And then step the left forward between the hands. Yep. Drop the back heel, 45 degrees, warrior one. Inhale the arms up. Good. Yeah, so messing with the rotation of your pelvis a little bit, right? Because warrior one is orienting the pelvis straight ahead. So that back hip has to spin forward. So really take that outer right hip forward, forward, forward. Good, and then try and bring that back leg a little straighter, Mark. A little straighter, Sarah. So Sarah, step your right foot wider to the right towards the outer edge of your mat. Now turn that hip forward. Yes, there you go. Nice, you guys. Arms up. Good. Part of warrior one is you're finding that extension through the back and all the way from the back heel up through your spine. So there's a connection there. Awesome. And then maintain that, spin your back heel up. So now it's a little easier to turn that right hip forward, but now that means you have to lift your back thigh higher. And keep your chest just as lifted. Good, and then hands at heart center, please. Stay just as lifted, navel in, start to twist. Right elbow to the outside of left knee. As your ribs come forward, your pelvis has to lift up. Push your butt up, back thigh up. Nice. And then ribs are in. Turn your heart open to the sky, but keep pushing your inner thighs wide. Good. Nice, right hip wider to the right, Sarah. That's it. And then come back to center, arms up, please. High lunge, reach. From your pelvis, reach. From your legs, reach. Good, mind elevated. And then release the hands down to the floor. Really good, you guys. Step back, downward facing dog. Good, slide forward to plank. Good, feet together, please. Vasisthasana. Right side holds you, right baby toe, right hand holds you, left arm to the sky. Remember that feeling of pushing your hips up towards the sky. Push your hips up towards the sky. Good, and then rotate your left rib cage open more. And now pull your right armpit forward over your right wrist. Well, good, now step your top foot back behind you this time. Instead of forward, step it back up on the tippy toes. Good, and push into your legs, lift your hips higher. Yes, and then start to rotate the heart open, rotate the hips open. So you gotta step your top foot back further, Sue, if you want that to work. Yep, bend the knee. There you go. Good, you guys, bring it all the way back, downward facing dog. If you're really pushing through your legs, your arms should not get super tired there. If they did, that's okay. Just saying. Good. Slide forward, plank pose, other side. I know, don't give up. Feet together. Vasisthasana, turn onto the left baby toe, left hand holds you, right arm to the sky. And push your hips up. Pull your ribs up. This is what it means to really elevate, is don't drop into what's heavy. Pull up. Good. And then that top foot steps back behind you. Everything becomes more doable if your mind is elevated, if your energy is upward. Good. Open, open the pelvis. Open, open the ribs. At the same time, you use the energy of the solidness, that groundedness. Come back to downward facing dog. Right? So we want our energy to be elevated, and at the same time, you're using what's solid as the foundation for that, right? Because we talk about sometimes you need to be heavy. Drop the knees to the floor, please. Child's pose. Like right now. Child's pose should be heavy. What does it take to elevate your mind? What does it take to refocus your mind on the goodness that is occurring in you as what you're doing? So you invite the ego, you invite that negative mind to be a part of a positive experience. And maybe positive isn't the right word, but an experience that has space in it, that has somewhere to go and something to do that's meaningful. That's what it means to elevate your mind. So we say to meditate all the time, to cultivate that spaciousness, and that's great. Meditate all the time. And also, while you're going about your everyday, can you connect to your goodness? And connect to it in those very imperfect moments, especially when you are looking for something to be judgmental about, something to be dissatisfied with. Walk yourself back up, please. Good, come to sit on your butt. Bring your feet in front of you, bottoms of the feet come together, Baddha Konasana. Good, so the butt wiggles back a little bit. If you need a blanket underneath your seat, great idea. Do that. Good. And then start to walk the hands forward, please. Take your forward fold, arms extended in front of you. So instead of holding the feet, walk your hands out. Good. Yeah. If you want to do that little squeeze of your knees here, that can be very nice to do. Keep the low belly engaged just a little bit. And then when you've gone as far forward as you can, fingertips on the floor, hands on the floor, touching something. I want you to energetically drag back. So isometrically drag back, which is going to pull your chest forward. So I want you to lengthen. The arms pull back. It's like you're pulling your arm bones into the shoulders, but your chest lifts as you're doing that. So get long. Good. And from that low space of your sacrum, from your back, get longer. Nice. And then walk your hands back up, please. Beautiful. Keep the right knee bent. Extend the left leg straight out in front of you. Toes straight up and down. So the right knee stays wide. Bottom of the foot just comes to the inside of the left leg. Yep, Janu Shirshasana. You got it. Inhale the arms up. Little twist to your left, bow over the left leg. Good. And again, a little bit of a scoop to the low part of your belly, because as you're folding forward, you want there to be this tilting of your pelvis. So it's like the top of your pelvis is moving forward towards your thighs or towards the floor, and your inner thighs and tail are reaching up and back. Good. Nice. I don't mind if you're using the strap, but relax your shoulders if you're using the strap. Keep lifting your chest forward if you're using the strap. There you go. Thank you. As the observer, right, as the teacher, I'm watching you practice, and when I see your bodies look like they're suffering in the pose, that's when I start telling you to do different things. So can you be that clear with yourself that when you can watch yourself suffering, instead of saying, well, this is just the way that it is, can you elevate your mind to a place that says, well, maybe if I adjusted this one thing, it would be different. Might not solve the whole problem, but maybe it would just be different. Walk yourself back up. That's what we want the ego to be doing. Switch the legs, please. Take the right leg forward. Bend the left knee, bottom of the foot to the inside of the thigh. Let the knee go wide. Inhale the arms up. Little twist to your right. And I say inhale the arms up, but that means pull up through your whole spine. That's it. And then bow forward with your whole spine. So that's that top of the pelvis that already has to tip in order to get into that full stretch of the legs, full stretch of the back. Good. And I'm choosing positions for you again that are working different rotations on the legs that are still giving you the chance to have a really stable pelvis. Giving the lower back a chance to find freedom. There's a way out. It's the core tenet of every spiritual practice. Not one of them says, hey, do all of these things and pretend that you're going to feel better, but there's really no way out. None of them say that. But the way out is you have to elevate your mind. Don't just try to get rid of it, but elevate it. One more breath. Turn yourself a little deeper over that thigh. Good. And then walk yourself back up, please. Nice. Good. Bend both knees. Bring the bottoms of the feet back together. Yeah. Good, good. And then balancing on your sit bones, please lift your knees up towards your side ribs. So your tippy toes are pointing towards the floor, but your knees are lifted up. Reach for your ankles. Good, so you're holding the ankles. Yeah, and then you're balancing on your sit bones. Lift your feet up off the floor. So you're doing a little balancing Baddha Konasana. Yeah, chest up. Scoop your belly. Good, don't lean back too far. Nice. And then start to take your legs out like you're in a balancing happy baby. So knees are still bent, but draw your heels a little wider. Yeah, and as your knees go wide, hug your knees in towards your side ribs. That's it. Good, chest up. And then start to take the legs any amount towards straight, but keep that feeling that you are squeezing the legs towards each other. Nice. I like that you're smiling. Mark's smiling anyway, Sue's smiling, yay. Laura's smiling. Awesome, yay, now you're all smiling. Good, bring the legs towards each other, still balancing, bring your feet together so you're in like a balancing forward fold. Nice. And then bend the knees back wide, place the feet down to the floor. Good job. So feet plant flat, knees up towards the ceiling. Walk your hands back behind you. Coming into reverse table, so heels underneath the knees, hands behind you. Fingers pointing towards your heels if they can be. If they need to turn out a little bit, that's okay. But first I would say widen your hands. If you feel the need to turn your hands out, widen your hands first. Widen your elbows first and see if you can keep them facing forward. And then a little bend to the elbows, lift your chest, draw your low ribs in, and then press into your feet, lift your hips. Good. Yeah, weight towards the balls of your feet. Take your right ankle on top of your left thigh. and lift up. Elevate. There it is. Nice, Sue. Good, Lisa S. Good, Sarah. Good. Step that right foot back down to the floor, please. Don't put your butt down. Left ankle on top of right thigh. I know. You got to keep pulling long through your spine here. This isn't just about pushing your hips up. This is about length. Armpit to hip length. Yeah, step that left foot down. Nice job. Take your butt back to the floor. Good job. Stretch your legs straight out in front of you. Inhale the arms up to the sky. That was hard work, right? I know. We'll do it a lot. It'll get easier. Bow forward, please. Paschimottanasana. It's hard work sometimes to elevate your mind out of where it has gotten into a rut. But it's the work that we've got, right? So connecting to your goodness, it is of immediate benefit to you. And it is to a larger, more extended benefit to all other beings. So you practice for yourself first, right? Your ego will love that. And then you remind it that you're also practicing for the benefit of the rest of creation, the rest of the world that you live in. Walk yourself back up, please. Come either, so if you can keep your legs straight here, keep your legs straight. If the back or the shoulders are not happy with reverse plank, then you're going to bend your knees again, plant your feet. So keeping the legs straight, hands back behind you, same position you just did, fingers pointing towards the hips. Good. And again, a little bend to the elbows, lift of your chest, legs straight, inner thighs, inner heels together. So everything is together. Point your toes. And then from your inner thighs, from your pelvis, lift up. So you're in a reverse plank, little slide. Again, if the shoulders or the hips do not appreciate this position, bend your knees, plant your feet, come back to reverse table. Throat long. Good. And lift. From your rib cage, lift. Nice. Deep breath in. Don't let your feet separate. Good. And then slowly release, hips back down to the floor. Nice, you guys. Scoot forward, come onto your backs. Yeah. Nice. Bend your knees, grab your block. Lift your hips, place your block underneath your seat. Under your seat, under your sacrum. Yeah. I don't know what you would do placing your block under your feet. I mean, you could, but I have no idea why. Good. Yeah, and then soften. Right? Nice here to almost feel like you are letting your pelvis roll forward, like you're going to fall off the block. So the top of your pelvic bones, again, rotate away from your belly. So the thigh creases get deeper. Yeah, it might feel like it almost brings more arch into your ribs. That's okay. Because if you can find release through your pelvis, the ribs and the spine, the rest of your back will follow. Good. And then you're breathing very deeply. Can you come into that full breath that you feel from your belly, through your side ribs and up into your chest and up into your throat? And continue to breathe that way, full breaths from your belly, up through your ribs, up into your chest, up into your throat. Elevating your mind. Somehow, often what that takes is just taking a deeper, more conscious breath. The minute we reconnect to there being a goodness, that there's space around and beyond what we are dissatisfied with, unhappy with, we can agree that we might not be perfect in the judgmental part of our mind, but that we're really not so bad. Right? You tap into the saint in you, the yogi in you, the spiritual being. You let your ego unite with that. If you lose track of your goodness, then that runaway train of your mind will drag you somewhere else. I don't think that creates a better world. Could be wrong, but I don't think so. Good. Still on the block, please draw your right knee in towards your chest. Yep. Try to keep that angle of your pelvis tipping forward towards your heels, and then hold behind that right thigh and extend your right heel up towards the ceiling. So you're doing a hamstring stretch, but you're balanced on the block. Yeah. Right knee in towards your chest and take the right heel up, Kristen, if you can. Yeah, Kristen got distracted by a dog, so I had to re-instruct. Good, you guys. Press that thigh back against your hands. Really feel the whole length of your pelvis, of your sacrum. Good. And then bend the knee back in towards your chest and step that foot down to the floor. Nice. Try the other side. So again, reset the pelvis, left knee in towards your chest. Good. Hold behind the thigh, extend the heel straight up. Press the thigh back against the hand. So again, you're still working that tilt of the pelvis. So the top of the pelvic bones are moving away from your belly. You want to feel more of your sacrum on the block, more of your tailbone reaching for the block. Good. So that right thigh crease, that leg that's holding you, stays really soft. Nice. And then bend that left knee back in towards your chest and release that foot down to the floor. Good. Pause for a moment again, just relaxing through the legs. And then lift the hips, please. Remove the block from underneath you. Slowly come on down all the way. Good. And then draw the knees in towards your chest, please. Yeah, you can roll a little bit forward and back. Forward and back, forward and back, forward and back. And then I'd like for you to come into plow pose if that's possible. So rolling back on the shoulders, taking the legs up overhead, toes reaching for the floor behind you. Good. Pushing into your feet if your feet find the floor, and lift your butt. Nice. So the idea is to get into that like full forward fold that happens in plow. So instead of coming into shoulder stand with the legs lifted, bringing the feet to the floor behind you. Good. If that's not an option, take the legs straight up to the sky. Yeah. Nice. And just breathe with that. Good, you guys. Take another breath or two if your legs are overhead. Again, you're coming into plow, so toes to the floor above the top of your head. Good. And then slowly start to roll down the spine one vertebra at a time. Good. As you come low, bend the knees so that, again, there's not a lot of weight coming onto the lower back. Beautiful. And then place the feet down to the floor. Nice. Right ankle comes on top of left thigh. Lift your left shin parallel to the floor. Reach through to hold. Good. Flexing the feet, relaxing the shoulders. Try to feel equal weight on both sides of your sacrum. So what usually happens here is that our weight falls towards the knee that is rotated outward. So bring your weight onto the left side of your low back. Good. Left side of your low back. So bring your weight a little bit more to the left, Harriet, or bring your left knee wider to the left. There you go. Yep. Good. And then release your hold on the thigh, cross the right thigh all the way on top of the left, separate your feet, reach for your ankles or your shins. Good. So thighs on top of each other, Kristen. There you go. Yep. Good. Scoop your low belly, push your butt down to the floor. So you're drawing your knees in towards your chest with the strength of your belly, and you're also going wide through your sacrum. Good. And then release, hugging the knees in towards your chest. And switch to the other side. So left ankle comes on top of right thigh. Good. You can reach through to hold if you'd like. I was thinking to myself the other day, I remember in the very beginning of the year, right? I was saying a lot that the mantra for 2020 is no hands, right? What can you do just from the core of you? And how much are you relying on your hands to do the work for you instead of using what you have deeper in? But now I also have the attitude that 2020 is trying to, the year itself, the time itself is trying to remind us to use everything you've got. So if your hands are going to get you to a place that is spacious, use your damn hands. If your hands are stopping you from feeling any sort of expansion or strength or awareness, then don't use your hands. But becoming conscious, right? That's what we're being asked to do more and more and more, is to become conscious of where is your mind? Where are you being dragged to? Good. Release that thigh, please. Cross the left leg all the way over top of the right. Separate your feet. Reach for the ankles at the shins. All right. The image that's given in the yogic text is as though, of course it's from the old world. So it's talking about, horses and chariots. But it says that, the body is like this chariot. And the horses are the senses. It's your senses, your interaction with the world. And the horses are just running. But the reins of the horses are your mind. And who's holding the reins? It's supposed to be, or the idea is that it's our higher intellect, our more spiritualized, higher awareness that is holding the reins. Sometimes we even say you want that to be your sense of God or the divine that is holding the reins. But if your horses are just running anywhere and your mind is not directing them anywhere positive, anywhere useful, anywhere spacious, guess what's going to happen? You run yourself into a wall off a cliff. It's a bumpy ride. So you elevate your mind. You help the ego direct the horses. And you find that the world is a different place. You find that you yourself are different than maybe you thought you were. Not so bad. Unwind your legs, please. Hug your knees in towards your chest. Good. And then place your feet down to the floor, please. Heels hip width apart. Set your arms alongside you. Come into bridge. Yep. So as you set the arms, the upper arms down to the floor, elbows can be bent or straight. Lift from your armpits. Lift your hips up. Long spine. Drag your heels towards your butt and your butt towards your heels. And then lift your armpits higher. Drag your butt towards your heels towards your butt. That's it. And then right leg to the sky. Yeah, elevate. Good. Release that heel down to the floor. Left leg up. Nice. That's good variation there, Carolina. She's just lifting the heel, not her leg, which is good. And then release that foot down to the floor. Beautiful. Release the spine one vertebra at a time. Do not drop your hips to the floor. Unwind your spine down. Beautiful. And then right knee comes in towards your chest, please. Left leg extends out down to the floor. Spinal twist, bring the right knee across the body. Good, keeping your navel drawn in and really pressing back through the length of your lower spine. So it's like you're pushing your butt towards an imaginary wall behind you. Awesome. And then come back to center, please. Hug that knee in towards your chest. Good. And then take the right leg down to the floor. Bring your left knee in. Good. Bring it across the body, spinal twist. So as the knee comes across, the left shoulder, the left rib cage is reaching in the opposite direction. But you're still drawing your low navel in and you're pushing your sacrum, you're pushing your seat back into that imaginary wall. Yeah. So you're taking the arch out of the lower spine even as you're twisting. Good. And then slowly bring it back to center, please. Hug that knee in. Bring the right knee in with it so both legs come in. Scoot your hips over to the left. Drop your knees to the right. Spinal twist with the knees together. And it's nice to end, especially if there are lower back things, it's nice to end with any position that allows the pelvis to be in neutral. So this twist is one that allows the pelvis to be neutral, hips stacked on top of each other. Good. And then slowly release, bring the hips back towards center. Scoot your hips over to the right, drop your knees to the left. Again, knees stay stacked right on top so that your hip points are stacked right on top. And even here, low navel can draw in, push back through your lower spine. Good. And you're breathing wide through your rib cage. How are your twists going to get deeper? You're going to breathe deeper. And as you learn to relax in this position, the body itself will open. The key is learning to relax. Good. Come back to center, please. Knees in, forehead up to meet your knees, squeeze. Good. And then slowly release, please. Extending the legs out in front of you, arms alongside you. If the lower back is still cranky or is now suddenly cranky, having a blanket or a pillow or a bolster underneath the knees can be very relaxing for that. I want you to again cultivate that sense of your own goodness. And without maybe comparing it to the other things that you think are still problems, just every time your mind wanders away from goodness, bring it back. Keep parading your goodness in front of your ego. And breathe very deeply. Very gently bring the awareness back to your breath. And let the body begin to stretch, move in whatever ways serve it well. And as you're ready, bring the knees in towards your chest and roll to your right side. Taking a moment before you begin to push the floor away to come back to an upright seated position. And you're sitting for just a moment for a little bit of breath. So I want you to start to become aware of your breathing. So you can feel each breath as it comes in through the tip of the nostrils. And then find it flowing to the inner edges of your eyes. So every breath, follow it to the tip of the nostrils and to the inner edges of the eyes. And then out through the nostrils to about 6 to 9 inches in front of you. And the breath begins again, 6 to 9 inches in front of you. Draw it in, feel it at the tips of the nostrils and up to the space, inner corners of the eyes. And exhale it back out, 6 to 9 inches in front of you. Maybe your mind can follow it longer, but try to follow it at least that far out. And breathe in again through the nostrils and notice the breath moving through inner corners of the eyes. And as you exhale, the breath moves 6 to 9 inches beyond you. And the breath begins again from beyond you through the tips of the nostrils up to the space, inner corners of the eyes. And the breath extends on the exhale 6 to 9 inches beyond you. Instead, breathing into this point, the inner corners of the eyes is a place of extreme joy. Cultivates or it contributes to a feeling of joy. And then if you can bring the mind to that point, the mind naturally wants to stay there. It wants to be in a state of bliss. It wants to be in a state of wholeness. It wants to be in a state where the world is somewhere it wants to be. This body is somewhere that it wants to be. But if that's not habitually where it is running, you are the one holding the reins. You have to direct it back to where that bliss is, to where that space is. So this is one way to do it. Take one more breath. The breath begins beyond you. Breathe it into the inner corners of the eyes. As you exhale, the breath leaves. It goes beyond you into infinity that you cannot see. That same infinity gives the breath back over and over and over. Elevate your mind to that kind of spaciousness, to that kind of sharing, and to that kind of goodness. That no matter what you are doing or not doing, there is goodness in you that's being breathed in and being breathed out. And you hold the reins of your mind. So it is your choice if you show up each and every day as the yogi or the demon. And whoever is in charge of you is the one who is creating the world in front of you. So whose world would you like to live in? You hold the reins of your mind, elevate. Hands at heart center, please. We'll close with the sound of Om, deep breath in. Sliding the thumbs up to the space between the eyebrows. Namaste, everybody. Thank you guys so much. Have a great rest of your day, great rest of your week. I will see you soon. Don't forget, Sundays are now at 9:30 with me, not 10, 9:30.